Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. I'm back with the decisive game of the Clutch International 2020. In the final between Carlsen and Caruana, after 11 games, Caruana is leading by 2 points, but now in game 12, Carlsen with the white pieces must win the final clutch game that will give him 3 points to win the tournament. So it's a sort of Armageddon, but with equal time on the clock. Let's get started. Carlsen begins the game with c4, the English opening. This is the new minefield where Carlsen likes to bring his opponents, and the same opening that he played in game 1 of this final. Caruana answers with e5, the most aggressive move, knight to c3, knight to f6, and here comes g3. Bishop to b4, a sort of reverse Rossolimo attack, and now e4, improving the control in the center. Bishop captures, the b-pawn recaptures, and short castle for black. At move 6, like in their previous game, here comes Carlsen's novelty that continues with f3. With this move is cementing the center, but weakening this important dark diagonal. But this is a well-thought compromise because Caruana just exchanged his dark square bishop on the knight, and at least for now, can't play against this weakness. As I said, Carlsen played this move also in their previous game, so how should Caruana continue? In some other videos we said that in this type of position there is also this powerful bind on d5, and black should attack the bind as soon as possible. So c6 and then d5 seems to me the best idea. In fact, this is exactly what Caruana played in their previous game that ended in a draw. Instead, in the final game, he continues with a novelty that is b5. b5, a pawn sacrifice that Carlsen doesn't accept because he continues with the best move, that is d4. Why not capturing this pawn? Let's go back one move, because if white accepts the pawn with c captures on b5, it's true that white wins the pawn, also improves his pawn structure, but the bind on d5 disappears, and here comes d5 with the idea to open the center with the white king that is in danger, so with advantage for black. Let's go back to our game. After b5, Carlsen doesn't capture, continue with d4, and now some changes in the center. He captures, c captures, and now b captures on c4. Now in this position, another little trap, not bishop captures on c4, not played by Carlsen, but just a variation that I like to show you. This is a natural answer that could be played in a fast game, and probably something that Caruana was hoping for, because in this position black would answer with d5, e capture, and in this position there is an important advantage for black that will be able to play rook to e8 to e check, knight to e2, bishop to a6, supported by the knight, forcing white to give away the only good element in this position, that is the bishop pair. Bishop captures, knight captures, short castle for white, knight captures on d5, and black is more than fine. Let's go back to our game, but after the b-pawn recaptures on c4, Carlsen doesn't immediately recapture with the bishop. He continues with the intermediate move e5, that is a decisive move. Not decisive that wins the game, but decisive that gives the advantage to the white player. Knight to d5, only now bishop captures on c4, the knight is under attack, and here comes bishop to b7, protecting the knight. Knight to h3, d6, attacking the central and most advanced pawn, and to avoid any trouble, Carlsen plays short castle. Knight to d7, a new attack against e5, so rook to e1, d captures, and now, because the knight was 2 times under attack, there is knight to b6, protecting and attacking the bishop. This bishop is very important to keep, also with the bishop pair, so bishop to b3, beautiful diagonal for this bishop, and Caruana continues with a clever idea, that is queen to e7. Because Caruana wants to improve the position of the queen with tempo, playing queen to c5, with check. Then after that, centralizing the rooks can also give black a powerful counter attack. And so what to do now? A natural move that Carlsen didn't play is queen to c2. Let's watch this variation. After this good move, there is the annoying knight to b4, attacking the queen. Queen to f5, bishop to c8, this is a skewer. Queen to g5 to exchange the queens. Queen captures, knight captures, and here comes c5. And even if white has the bishop pair without the queens on the board, black is not so bad in this position and can hold the game. Let's go back to our game. After queen to e7 with the idea of improving the queen, centralizing the rook, and begin a counter play, Carlsen finds a beautiful idea, that is e6. As we said, a fantastic idea because this pawn sacrifice poses a lot of problems to Caruana, because what to do now? If Caruana ignores this move and continues with, for example, rook to e8, that is one of the best moves in this position, there is e capture on f7 with check, the queen recapture, and now bishop to b2, rook capture with check, the queen recapture, but black can't capture this pawn on f1. White, with this bishop pair that are watching the king with a knight jump, rook to c1, and the queen in the center of the board, with this rook still on a1, is winning the game. Now in this position, why it's not possible to capture the pawn? Because after queen captures on f3 is already game over. There is knight to g5 that comes with tempo against the queen, queen to f5, but white can completely ignore this threat to lose the knight with rook to c1, and in this position this is +6 because white was able to activate all of his pieces against the king, and after capture there is also the idea to capture with the rook, winning the queen. So a position that it's impossible to hold for black. Let's go back to our game. After e6, it seems that f6 is the only move that can save black, even if this move creates a dangerous and really annoying pass pawn, because what to do now? a4 is one of the best ideas to play to improve this bishop against this bad geometry, queen and rook. Here comes a5, the idea that if white plays bishop to a3, this knight is able to block this idea. Knight to f4, 3 times under attack, rook in f goes to d8, and even under pressure. It seems that at least for now black can keep fighting. Let's go back to our game. After e6, instead Caruana captures the pawn with f captures on e6. Here comes knight to g5, and seems impossible or very difficult to defend this pawn. Caruana tries to defend the pawn with rook to f6, but here comes queen to c2 with the checkmate threat, queen capture, we check, king to f8, queen to h8, checkmate, because the knight is controlling f7. Caruana blocks the diagonal with the rook, but now, even if it doesn't look so, this rook is pinned to this checkmate square. So here comes the crushing rook capture on e6. Now, as we just said, if rook capture, there is the same checkmate threat, so the rook can't capture. And what to do now with this queen? Caruana sacrificed the queen for a rook and a knight. Queen capture, knight captures, rook captures, but wasn't possible to move the queen away, creating some new threats. Let's go back to the crushing move, rook captures on e6. The only idea that comes to mind is queen to b4, so moving away the queen to give this check with fork, but this idea doesn't work because here there is rook captures on g6, and if queen to d4 we check, there is the simple king to g2. Now queen captures on a1, bishop to b2 attacking the queen is sort of trapping the queen, because if the queen moves away, there is a rook capture protected by the bishop. On g7 we check, king to f8, queen to f5 we check, king to e8, the queen check, king to d8, rook to g8 we check. Only move is to interpose the queen, rook capture, checkmate. Going back to our new idea, this queen to b4 we check, after the rook capture and queen to d4 we check. King to g2, if now black captures the rook with h captures on g6, again there is this important check, bishop to b2, the queen is under attack, queen to e3, now queen captures on g6, threatening checkmate in 1, supported by the bishop, and it's not possible to prevent this checkmate, because after queen to e2 we check, there is king to h1, no more checks, because the rook is protecting the back rank. After queen to e7 protecting this checkmate in 1, there is the other checkmate idea. Queen to h7 we check, king to f8, queen to h8, checkmate. So terrible position. So that's why, going back to our game, after rook captures on e6, Caruana prefers to sacrifice the queen for rook and knight. Queen captures, knight captures, rook captures, but white is winning. Bishop to b2, improving the bishop. Rook in a goes to e8, doubling the rooks, and now bishop to the center of the board. King to h8, queen to f5, and now bishop to c8, trying to win the queen with the check and discovered attack. So queen away, queen to h5. Here comes c5, attacking the bishop, but Carlsen doesn't retreat the bishop, simply captures the pawn, and now rook to e5, attacking the queen and watching with the X-ray attack this bishop. But here comes another beautiful move, queen to f7, that comes with tempo, because now the knight is 2 times under attack. There is also a7 that is under attack, and strange to say, but it's also impossible to attack this queen. Of course, now this rook, not only there is the bishop protecting e7, but if the rook moves away, there is this checkmate. The other rook can't attack the queen because there is the bishop that is protecting the queen. This rook can't move to f5 because it's protecting this rook. So the queen is really in a beautiful position. What to do? Here comes bishop to h3, but now bishop to f8 with the checkmate idea, with queen capture on g7, checkmate. Here comes rook to e1, which Caruana is trying to attract this white king into a checkmating net. Rook captures we check, and here king to f2. The rook is under attack, rook to f1 we check, king to e2, knight to c3 we check, but after king to d3, Caruana resigns because there is no mating net. Fantastic game with this final victory. Carlsen also won the Clutch International 2020, and let's hope that also in the next years they will keep doing these online tournaments, because I'm having a lot of fun, and then the players are really playing important variation, beautiful games. What a tournament! We watched many great games, but in my opinion, these 12 games of the final were really a show. I hope that you liked the game and also my videos. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can watch together all the best chess tournaments. For now, I thank you very much for watching and see you tomorrow. Goodbye!